it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming in my dining room, as you can see, instead of the bedroom because I'm filming much later in the day than normal. The light is on this part of the house, so this is where we are. So this area of the house is like one of my favorites and it's so cute, and like I got my little planties up there and like my bookshelves. Everything's cute in this area, so I'm like, show it off, why not? But anyway, today I am doing January's wrap up. January lasted 84 years, am I right? In these little coffee chat wrap-ups, if you're new here, I just pretty much tell you how my month went. All of the writing, publishing, author stuff, but also I throw in some life and reading stuff that, you know, I did, that I read. And we just chat. You tell me about your month down in the comments, and it's a great way that I get to like actually connect with you guys. It's just like informal and chill and something that I like to do every month with you. So starting with writing. Let's talk Project Pyro. This is my YA thriller that I've been working on. I wrote the first draft all the way back in 2021, and now I have nothing contracted, so I finally have time to work on something other than a middle grade. At the beginning of the year, I read through the whole book and I kind of just like re-immersed myself in it. I got back into The Voice, which, you guys, The Voice? Who is she? Who wrote that? Because it wasn't me. It wasn't middle grade Lindsay. It's so fun, it's so dark, it's so gritty, and it reminds me about how I felt when I was writing my first novel, my first YA that I tried to query, and just the fun that I had with cutting loose with like the darkness and the grit. It was such a change of pace and I'm really loving it. My main character in this novel is so very different from me. She truly does not care what anyone thinks about her. She is not nice, she is not friendly, and she just kind of tells it like it is, and that has been so fun to jump into somebody's head like that and really kind of like see how they tick and play with her and different social interactions. I'm also kind of like getting this like Southern Gothic vibe to it because it is set in a boarding school in the South. It's like a deeply Appalachian, gritty murder mystery, if that makes sense. I'm really having fun with it. It's so different than anything that I've written before that it just feels new. It feels exciting, and it's like, you know, if I was able to sell this book, then it would be like a brand change because people have no preconceived notions of who I am outside of the middle grade sphere. So yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun. I don't know. I'm just having a good time. So after I read through it, I took some notes and I decided to dive back in. I'm actually on my third draft, which is the draft that I just finished with Bitter Bones last year. This is the last draft that I normally do before I send the book off to betas, agent, that type of situation. But this is also the draft that takes me the longest because this is my prose draft. This is where I like look at every sentence and I'm like, ooh, how can I really make this shine? And I look at the voice and I'm like, ooh, how can I elect certain emotions with like metaphor, simile, imagery, like all that stuff. So it takes me forever, but it's also one of the most rewarding drafts because after this one is when it starts to feel like something that could actually like be picked up at Barnes & Noble or something. So okay, yeah, I've waxed poetic enough about Project Pyro. Can you just tell that I'm kind of like falling back in love with the project? Because I can. My only other active project at the moment, since Bitter Bones is currently with my editor, is Grandmother's Guide to High Stakes Adventuring. This is my cozy D&D satire fantasy about a grandmother gnome who has always wanted to go on an adventure, but she's never been able to because she has been taking care of the apiary and her family and having children and having grandchildren, and all of a sudden she woke up one day and she's like 400 years old and she's like, oh my gosh, I never got to go on my adventure. I better do it before I die. That's what this book is about. It's basically me lovingly poking fun at the cozy fantasy genre and like D&D tropes in general, and just having a ball, like cutting loose the way that I do with my middle grade, but for a more adult audience. I'm having so much fun with it. But you guys, I didn't work on it at all this month. I didn't work on it at all. And that's okay because I've made plans for February. My goals for February will be reincorporating some Grandmother's Guide back in it. Since Project Pyro is a lot farther along than Grandmother's Guide, I was really focusing just like on restarting Project Pyro and getting back into it. That's what my goals were for the month. So I was able to do that, which is good. And I was able to hold on like to life in general. So now I'm like, okay, I think I could add one more project and on top of everything else I'm doing and still keep my sanity, maybe. Was it ever there to begin with? Jury's still out. But I didn't get any physical words written. However, I was doing a ton of brainstorming. I kind of do this thing every night before I go to bed, or to like lull myself into sleep. I tell myself like a story, and usually it's my characters just going about their day or in some kind of situation and doing something. And for Grandmother's Guide, it was pretty much me just watching Mimpy, my main character's life, like from the time that she was a baby, like growing up, every night for just like 5 to 10 minutes before I drifted off. I would just be like, oh, what is she doing at an 8-year-old on a normal day? Like, what does it look like helping her father around the farm and the apiary? And what friends does she have in the neighborhood? And I would just like envision these pieces like a movie. And even though these weren't physical words getting written down, it's still working on the book. No physical work, but imaginary work. In other news and writing, I didn't know actually if I should put this in the writing section or the reading section, but I went to 2 author signings this month back to back, and they were so fun. So first I got to go meet Alice Feeney, the queen of thrillers herself. She had an American tour, right? And there were only like 5 US stops, and for some wild reason she decided to come to Ohio. I'm like, girl, why? But I was so happy she was here because I got to see her. I got her newest book. I got to meet her. I got to tell her how she was one of the authors that like I got their thrillers, and I like, you know, went in and highlighted and was like breaking them apart, trying to find out how they tick and like certain things that I really liked that she did, particularly in my favorite book by her, His and Hers. That really helped me construct my mystery in the odds, and I got to tell her that, and that was so cool. And she was like, oh, I got a little teary-eyed. I'm like, please, I'm over here like sweating. For some reason I was so nervous to meet her and everything, but she's literally the sweetest, most soft-spoken little English woman. So that was really cool. And then the very next day, my author sibling, Chloe Leese, was doing her release for her newest book. And my agency sibling, Sarah Hogel, was also going to be there. So it was just like a big Root Literary girls night. We all took pictures together and we caught up and talked, and I hope we're going to get together soon in the future. So it was really fun getting to finally meet them in person, and we took pictures and we sent them to all of our agents. And we were like, look, the Root girls are all together, which was really, really fun. And they're both so sweet, and I also got their books and got to support them, and it was just lovely. This was definitely a big community building month for me, and you'll see more of why as I continue. But another big thing that I worked on this month was my school tour that I'm putting together, or just getting more school visits in general. You guys, I was cold calling school. Do you know how hard that is? I am a millennial teenage girl. Like, how do you expect me to call someone on the phone? It was terrible. But I actually did it. I am in talks with 4 different schools right now, putting something together, and I already have 1 on the books. So that's good. It's happening. Now I'm gonna switch gears and talk about some reading that I did in the month of January. So I read a total of 9 books in January. Really proud of that fact. Also, even more proud of the fact that I DNF'd 7 books. I am going to be a DNF queen this year. Anytime a book I feel like is not going to be a 4-star, I'm just like, bye-bye, I don't have time for you. I do really quickly want to talk about my 2 favorite reads for the month. So the first one was called Midnight Rooms. This, I believe, is a debut, which is incredible. It is an adult Victorian Gothic horror story that also has high romantic elements. It kind of is reminding me of this like emerging genre people are calling like a cotton candy horror or romantic horror. I don't know, but I'm eating it up. This is about a biracial black and white girl who was born to a white father in the Victorian times, and then he, you know, died. And so she's being raised by her white cousins in the family, and they're all just like we have this black girl, we don't know what to do with her, we can't really marry her off because no one wants to marry her. But then all of a sudden this like really hot hunky dude is just like, yo, like I got it down bad for you, come be my wife. And she's like, okay, sure, whatever. And he's like, cool. So they get married, and then they go back to his house, and it's like really weird. His family is super creepy, and there's like weird things going on in the house. You know, it's the normal Gothic the woman going through the house with the candelabra at night, running with her little nightgown, and it's like, oh, amazing. I love that. Incredible. There's also a certain angle that this book takes that I really enjoyed that I did not know about when I got into it. It's not in the synopsis, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. However, it is something that I probably would not have picked up the book had I known where it was going. However, I loved how it was done, so I am much less prejudiced against those types of books now. And then my other favorite for the month was Glass Houses. This is set in the near future where a tech company is kind of marooned on a fancy island beach house situation, but the house is actually a full smart house with AI and everything. And all of a sudden, people start dying one by one. And it's told in the timeline where they're stuck, and then in a timeline before this, a few weeks before, where they're getting ready to go on this big vacation celebration together because they sold the company and now they're all billionaires. And yeah, it was super, super interesting. It definitely deals with like AI and like all of the cool dystopian ramifications of that. It also is about, you know, things like billionaires just being billionaires. At no point did I really know how this book was gonna go, like what genre we were gonna fall into here. It's just so mysterious, and like it's always like just like dangling little secrets at the end of each chapter, and I really enjoyed that. And now let's chat some life stuff. So the first thing, you guys, I crocheted this sweater. Like, stop it. This is so incredible, like, to me. Like, I cannot believe I actually did this. Like, I made a sleeve. I don't know. This is so cool, and it turned out so awesome. I wore it out, and the first day that I wore it out, someone stopped me and they're like, "Did you crochet that?" When I tell you my soul left my body. Yes, I did. I did in fact crochet that. Thank you so much for noticing. The other thing that I crocheted this month is this little mousy bookmark. He is so cute. I've decided to name him Roman, like R-O-A-M-I-N-G, because one of the people that I play D&D with plays as like a ratkin, and their name is Roman. So I'm like, oh, it's little baby Roman. You guys, speaking of D&D, I have the coolest news to share with you guys. So at one of my last events that I did in December, I was at a Barnes & Noble and I just started chatting with one of the booksellers there. I had talked with him before. We had kind of known each other from making connections in the past. And I noticed that he was wearing a Critical Role little pin on his lanyard. And I was like, oh my God, like Critical Role is kind of my life. So we started chatting and he was like, you know, he's like, I'm a DM, and a lot of us here at Barnes & Noble, like, we like to play D&D. So we have like a monthly get together where all of us employees play D&D. You should totally join us. So little Mimpy Gumblewick goes now once a month to play D&D with the staff of Barnes & Noble. And when I tell you, I'm so happy. I found nerdy, bookish friends who like D&D, who like the same things I like. Like, they're real people. Like, I made friends. I just found them. They're out. Like, if you leave your house, there's people out there that might be your friends. It's the coolest thing ever. I'm so happy. And last but not least, my last update for January is that, you guys, I finally did it. I finally finished my Spooky Cutie coloring book. I feel so accomplished. There's something deeply ingrained in my Capricorn DNA where I love to complete something. And just this being so floppy and being so like distorted looking, it just makes me so happy. Funny enough, even though I finished the book, I only colored 3 pages myself this month, and I updated one. I kind of gave it a new background so it looked a little bit more fancy pantsy. So that's it. That was my January. I want to know how your Januaries went. Let me know how your writing went. If you guys read any great books, any hot gossip from the family, friends, neighbor tea, anything, I'll take it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to tell me how your Januaries went in the comments down below, and like and subscribe if you'd like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.